Now you can.
All right, good. Welcome back to the Volley House podcast. We're here at Colca Studios. So, again, if you need a firehouse
Tyler's
built,
talking like a robot, like we haven't been doing this for fucking a month and a half now.
I'm trying to go by my fucking notes here. All right, you want a firehouse built? You call them. All right.
Colca.
And also, download the Firewire app, available on iOS and Android. We got an update coming out on that soon. And if you want us to talk about anything, any questions, stories, videos, go to volleyhousepodcast.com and you can send us in a form and give us a follow on all social media platforms at Volley House Podcast. So, we had the Buff Show this weekend.
We had the Buff Show. We did it.
I am shocked that my voice isn't completely dead after walking around with you for 3 hours.
I was a little scratchy there for a little bit.
That's why I left you guys.
Yeah.
I went on a little
Blew
hike.
us
Yeah.
off.
Phil, my legs were shot. I was like, damn.
You know, walking around on concrete for 4 hours is a painful thing to do. I give all those people a lot of credit, especially the guys without boots, like some of the vendors without chairs and shit. Like that's.
I'm sure those dudes are feeling the same exact way we were.
I'm saying I give them credit
Oh,
because it's hard.
yeah, trade shows suck, but definitely a lot of like cool stuff over there. We had a lot of good conversations.
Tyler, he was on a liquid lunch though, so he was doing well for himself. He was feeling no pain
Oh,
probably.
I got a little shout out on the New York State Chiefs Association page.
Yeah, that's right.
Saw that.
You were looking at
terrible
what
angle.
I
Looking at
command
I
board,
command,
right?
I command, yeah.
I command board.
He
That
actually
was
gave
funny.
me a really good breakdown. It's actually good.
That's
I don't
great.
have that, and I'm curious to hear you speak on the iCommand board, but I don't have that like I'm not a chief. I was never a chief, so I never, had the perception of a chief using it. But
And we
it was
can
cool.
get into that conversation someday because you're a captain,
Yeah,
and you could very easily
Phil's running this
be
year. for
running command.
ex-captain and out. But you're right. I could be running command.
Anybody can be, really, in the volunteer service, but as a captain, you definitely could. Do you guys take the Chiefs call when the Chiefs out of town? Or?
Yeah, they let him use it.
So you
yeah.
do. So you can run
I
command.
personally haven't yet. I've only been captain
So
for a month.
we got to bring you up to speed so you're ready to handle any type of emergency.
Yeah. Well, we have a fourth chief. That's
Well,
not
you
actually a
could
chief.
use you could throw the iCommand board in the car in case it happened.
Yeah.
In the ladder tower?
Yeah,
ladder
yeah. That's what Phil's going to drive the ladder truck for the Chiefs car.
yeah.
It's just everywhere. You just
7th and round.
Yeah.
Be there in a little bit.
you get no one in the passenger
On the
seat to
way.
tell you if you're good. Yeah, so a lot of cool stuff.
It was a great show, actually. It was,
Yeah, made a lot of good connections there
good
as well.
connections.
We'll be having some people on as guests, soon.
So a lot of friends, a lot of people we know, which is awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of people have heard the show, which is even better.
Yeah, that was a good thing too. I mean, it's funny like sitting here talking with you two idiots, and you hear like, there's like battalion chiefs in the FDNY that are checking in on us.
Yeah,
these
very,
volleys.
Very interesting, and just to hear from you, and just to hear from like you said you were where Port Jeff the other night. And
Yeah,
guys
Port Jeff steak dinner.
Yeah,
A lot of people came up to me, heard the show. I mean, I was wearing the sweatshirt too, so they're like, "Oh, you guys got swag?" I'm like, "Yeah, we got swag. Go to the website."
It was funny. Phil was saying when we were on our way back, like some of the FDNY guys that we met, and even a bunch of the FDNY guys that we met, like, just talking through you or whatever, every one of them treats us like firemen. Phil and I aren't FDNY. We're volunteers. They're not, waving us off, oh, these are the volunteer guys, blah, blah, blah. Like, they treat us like firemen. And it's, it's cool to be able to have that conversation with somebody, that's higher up in the greatest fire department in the world.
yeah. That was a misconception of mine when I joined the volleys when I was new. I think someone just got in my ear that paid guys just can't stand the volleys, and I think that just stuck in my head.
Some can.
But I know it is a segment of paid guys that don't really like the volley service.
And you got to remember when you go to these shows, conferences, and especially conferences, big conferences where you're doing hands-on stuff like that. The hands-on stuff that people go to, it's like 1% probably or 2% of fire departments across the country that go out regular, from what they normally train. They go out on their own or pay with their own dime or go to these training classes to learn more. It's probably 1% that actually go out and do that. So, maybe a buff show like that where people are going to look at apparatus, stuff like that, maybe 5%. So it's a small number. A lot of people don't get out.
Right.
We talk about getting outside your zip code, going seeing new things and learning new things, but most people don't. So, you got to give a hand to the people that actually take the time out and go look at new equipment or learn something new or go to a new training program. Mm-hmm. But everybody should do it, I think, personally.
There's a lot of good looking rigs there too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, parade pieces or actual fire trucks?
No, those were who brings them there? Hendrickson, and they bring all their.
They were all
rigs?
there.
Yeah,
Proliner was there. Firematic was there. Hendrickson, I think.
Did you see that Massapequa to mid-mount ladder? It was like
North Massapequa rig?
North
I think it was North
Massapequa.
Massapequa rig, yeah.
That thing was nice.
Yeah.
I fucking like that.
Yeah,
thing.
it's a sharp looking rig. I
I like the
that
black
style.
ladder.
Yeah.
We don't have a black. It's just a
Well,
ladder.
it looks nice. The black, we just got a gray one. I was against the gray, personally. I think it does look nice. But in the dark, in the smoke, in the clouds, even with all the lighting.
In the smoke and the clouds.
Smoke, clouds,
flying
everything,
ladder
fog.
truck?
Well, there's
I know,
sometimes there's
I'm
fog and
I'm
everything
breaking
else.
balls, I'm
I know you're
breaking
breaking my balls, but it is difficult to see sometimes. And
No, I get it.
we had a night training when we got the rig, and we had the ladder up, and one of the guys said to me, he goes, "You're right, it is a little difficult to see,
I can see that.
the bucket, the ladder, and even with all the lighting, where white is a little, more visible."
Yeah, but it's not about that. It's about looking sick.
Yeah,
Going
No,
to a
it's
parade.
about firefighting.
It's about looking sick at
It's
a parade.
about firefighting.
You
It's
gotta
not a
have
parade piece.
No, you gotta have the best looking truck in the
It's
parade.
about
That's
driving
what
down
It's about.
347, blowing red lights. That's what it's
Yeah,
about.
yeah. And you want all the kids sitting in the back of their parents' car. Look at that fire truck. It looks so cool. He wants a beat up old.
He was
fire
too busy
engine.
looking at Hot Bog's new rescue rig, right? Was it there?
No, they didn't take it from us. No,
Oh.
no, it wasn't there. They usually do. I guess that's a 2021, so it's
It's
4 years
old school now.
Yeah.
Well, you
gotta-
also you don't want to pull that out of that district.
Yeah.
People driving recklessly on the Long Island Expressway. That truck needs to be there.
347, 45 miles an hour, and they're doing like 90.
Yeah, but I mean, just the driving in general is just watching people drive is insane. It's what keeps the volunteer service in business, I guess.
I'm curious when the red light cameras. Did you guys notice? Because we spent time together at Express Drive North and South and Wheeler Road. That was a bad spot until the red light cameras got put in. Or just numerous spots until red light cameras got put in, then the rescues kind of slowed down. Did that happen at all by you?
Yes and no. I mean, we had a lot of rear end collisions from people jamming
I
on
was
their
just going to
brakes.
say that.
Yeah.
It
Well,
actually
that
happened to my
increased.
brother. My brother got rear ended really bad. He went to stop at a light, and guy came up behind him and just crashed right into him.
Yeah,
So,
thinking he would roll through the red or something. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it prevented accidents or brought accidents down, but we're still getting accidents at the intersections.
Oh yeah,
347 and Nichols is like a nightmare.
yeah. Any of those high speed intersections, either people not paying attention or people seeing the yellow light on the other side and they start inching up
And try to go for it.
and try to go for it,
beat it.
and then somebody else trying to beat that yellow light, bam, see you later. But I mean,
Roadways are dangerous. You look at how many firefighters get struck, hurt, or rigs get slammed into, and it happens a lot. The roads are probably one of the worst things we deal with.
yeah, no, for sure. Let's get into Frontline Optics. Where are my glasses at?
Your glasses?
They're
Is
my
that
glasses.
what you just said? Your glasses?
You're damn right, these are my glasses. One of you guys' dirty ass fingers got a smudge on this the other day. All right.
I actually started looking into sunglasses. They have it. That warranty that Frontline has is fucking excellent.
I like it.
A lot of
I like
companies
that
do not
warranty.
have anything like that.
Yeah,
So-
I mean,
Send it back and just pay shipping or something, right?
Yeah,
Something-
that's dope.
That's great.
Because if you bought like Oakley sunglasses and they cost you $150, you just gotta buy a new pair.
yeah. So what makes us different? We know these shades are going to get beat up, which is why we offer a no questions asked replacement program to cover your lost or damaged sunglasses. When the time comes to get yours replaced, all you need to do is cover a $12 service fee and we'll ship a brand new pair to your door, no questions asked. Additionally, a portion of all sales is donated to the First Responders Children's Foundation, supporting the loved ones left behind by our brothers and sisters who give the ultimate sacrifice in service to their communities. All our glasses are polarized, and we offer free shipping and returns so you can try them out risk-free. Not enough? We have both Z87 and prescription styles available. Check us out at frontlineoptics.com or on Instagram at Frontline Optics. Use code VHP15 for 15% off. Frontline Optics.
You look much better with just the glasses, no hat.
I'm going to wear the hat again,
No.
just
No
out
more
of
hat.
spite.
You didn't respond to me in the chat when you said he looks better with the glasses on because it covers his face. That's why I said we need Scott to sponsor us now, so he can
I
wear a
got that.
mask.
I got that. Just
We can work on Scott.
Yeah, talk like full like SCBA. Well, this is how it be if you're trying to
Scott
listen to the
Pax.
podcast in a fire. Yeah.
Oh, God.
All right, you ready for
Job of the week.
suspended or not?
Oh, I thought you were doing job. And
When these
job of the
glasses go on, it's suspended or not.
week. All right, let's do it. What the heck?
All right, we got some different ones here.
No.
The first one. A probie tells the fire instructor at the academy that he doesn't hit hydrants because he's part of the truck company.
God, really? Thank God it wasn't me.
That is a true story.
Wow.
What are you gonna suspend him for that?
I'm thinking about what I would actually say to him as,
so
as an
the
instructor.
We forgot to shout out Kyle Cook too.
oh yeah,
behind the
Kyle
lens.
Cook on the sticks. What's up,
I hear him
kid?
laughing.
Kyle Cook is laughing.
So it's a ghost.
Hey, Kyle, just word to the wise: when you go to the academy, don't say that.
So the instructor called the chiefs
Oh, I'm sure he did.
and were like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" So you get that phone call.
I don't want to get my hands dirty.
From an instructor. What do you say to this kid?
Well, he needs a stern talking to. I would think. I wouldn't suspend him, but he needs to have a conversation.
This is a
mean,
probie.
Yeah.
That's a
balls
problem.
on him.
That's balls.
I don't know if it was
He's taking out with the wrong crew.
that. Honestly, I think
I was just thinking that.
That's exactly what it
somebody
was.
told him.
I don't know if it was somebody
Something.
told him. I think it was just a matter of like he was in a truck company and that truck engine banter that
Well,
goes
it's the
back
mentality.
and forth.
Obviously, they had a conversation about it for somebody to tell him.
Right.
And that's
And
the
he
thing.
took it- he took it-
Was a younger kid.
Yeah,
or,
a younger kid, and he took
He's
that
just
verbatim.
He's absorbing what he was told. We've all said stupid stuff. I was in the truck company like that too. But
Or it's just socially inept. Just didn't get that they were joking around.
Could be a mixture of both. So no suspension on that. Just get him
I would
talking
say
to.
he needs a good talking to, and if it happened again, then maybe it's time to cut ways with that person.
Right.
But
I'm curious
You
in
got to
how-
open your mind. At the academy too, you're learning. Like we said, it's a baseline national curriculum. You got to learn everything. You need to know how to do everything.
Did someone send this to you, or was this a person? Did you experience this?
Oh, this one I experienced.
So was the dude on an engine or on a truck at Yaphank that this happened?
He went to a probie class at the academy.
Firefighter 1.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
it's
it wasn't
Firefighter
even
1.
a drill.
It wasn't even a
He
drill.
was just straight up, I'm not
Yeah,
doing
so
it.
They put him there, and he was just
is
like,
great.
what he probably should have said is, "Am I supposed to? Because I'm in the truck company."
I've never done that before.
Or, I mean, just keep your mouth shut and just do whatever they ask you to do at the academy if
Pretty
you're a
much.
probie. Scenario number two.
I think Phil said that, right? About keeping your mouth shut, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scenario number two. Setting off the firehouse siren at 2 a.m. by dialing the activation tones into a high band radio.
Wow. Whew. Back in the day, that's definitely a suspension, probably. But
How do you even dial it in? I know you can do it on your phone.
It's a
right?
phone.
You-
You just get the
yeah.
tone. Somebody keys up on high band radio,
and you just
and
beep,
you
beep,
dial
beep. Yeah.
dial the activation tone into it.
I'd like to say a warning, but that's a pretty rough one, though. Who's doing that? Were they
What's
doing
your-
it like over and over again, or just once?
So
I need a little more.
I will say from my experience, I remember I was home. It was in the middle of the night, and
heard it,
I
went to
kept
the-
I
went to
kept
the
my
firehouse?
radio on the repeater channel, and I hear it key up, and then it doesn't key up. Then I hear it key up again, and I hear a dial tone.
Did Phil do this?
No. And I'm
I've
like,
heard about- I
but
heard
here's
about
the thing:
this,
the
but-
minute I heard the dial tone, I was like, I know what these fucking idiots are doing. And it stopped, and then it unkeyed.
Oh, my.
Then it keyed back up, and they dialed the full tone into it, and then I just hear the siren starts going off, and I'm like, I thought it was hilarious. I'm
Our
like, that's
It is
funny.
pretty funny.
Our siren's terrible too. It's so loud.
It's super loud, yeah.
So loud.
It's old school siren.
What's your policy there? Do you guys ring your bell for every alarm?
No.
Like we had it going until recently. Now it's only 35s, heavy rescues, and maybe cardiacs. I don't think cardiacs, but they used to ring that thing for freaking.
I forget. It's
changed.
changed a couple times. I don't know what the actual policy is now, but I think it's working fires and 12,
I know
12 o'clock noon. I think.
A lot of departments over the years stopped using the siren at night.
Yeah. I
'Cause
think that's how we started, and then we went to all the time because there is a lot of technology out there now to get alarms.
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, I think the origin of the siren
Or if
was
nobody
to,
shows up,
right, was to
you know.
alert people, before cell phones, and and not everyone had a pager on them.
I used to like it because working outside in the yard, sometimes.
Well, that was the other thing too. Yeah,
You could hear that over the lawnmower or the hedge trimmer. When I would hear it, I'd be like, "Oh shoot!" we got a
right,
call.
and it would also alert people driving around in
Right.
the area that they're, you hear a siren. There's going to be
Something's
fire
happening,
apparatus buzzing around, so keep your eyes peeled.
We had a couple local neighbors that were complaining about the siren going off all the time, and then nobody showing up to the firehouse. So that was the other thing.
Set it off again.
It's going off for an ambulance call. The ambulance runs out of the other station, and nobody shows up at this station.
Right.
And
I remember being at lacrosse practice or any sports
Oh
for that
man,
matter.
yeah, the high school
The
backing
coach
up.
would just stand in the middle and be like, "All right, we're gonna wait a minute for this thing to stop."
Phil's like itching to run to the fire with his pads on.
No, I wasn't in. I wasn't in high school.
Oh, no, that's right. Yeah. So, what do you think for that one?
how do you even know who did it?
I know exactly who did it.
But did the chiefs
And-
in them know who did it? That's the thing. Did anybody know who did it?
No.
So you can't really suspend anybody if you don't know,
Fair enough.
right? I mean,
I guess all
and
you
it
could-
comes back to you got to have documentation somehow.
All you can
prove
do is track it back to the radio.
The radio, yeah.
Yeah. Or cameras are at that time or something, right?
Well, a lot of people now have like that the tone that goes off, so it identifies the radio,
Yeah.
right? So it's got that encryption or whatever. It's not encryption. It's
It's like an
can't think of
identifier.
it,
right?
identifier. But so it would so we had it set up originally on the radios that it was after you released the push to talk, so it was at the end. So guys got smart. They were like playing with the radios, and then they pull the battery out, so the ID wouldn't go off. So
Why
we
would they
had
want
to
their ID
switch
going
it so that the ID went off in the beginning
So when you key up, the ID goes through.
automatically. Yeah. So
That's interesting that they would do it at the end. You would think you'd want it
I couldn't believe
early.
if firemen could figure anything out. They figure out how to get around the system.
Yeah. Scenario number 3. Driving the heavy machinery around the outside of the firehouse that was left there for a construction project.
Oh shit! Really? They stole somebody's machine?
Not stole it, but just took it for a joyride.
They found out who did it.
I heard all those keys for like backhoes and stuff. Are they all the same?
Yes,
Something like
I
that.
have a whole set of them.
Yeah.
And unless they change it, some people what they do is they'll put like a kill switch in or something. So you need the key and a kill switch or a button to hit, so that you can't steal them. Or they disconnect the batteries. But
So if you say are chief and you get a call that there is a scissor lift driving circles around the firehouse fully
scissor
extended.
oh my god,
It's like a death wish.
Yeah.
you're
that's-
looking to get you flip over.
Yeah, definitely dangerous.
Oh my god, you guys are badasses.
I didn't say I did it.
I'm sure you did.
No.
Like I said, maybe I'm softer now, but I don't like suspending people as much. Just give them something to do, Clean up the firehouse, Do
Did
something
they
else.
do anything with it?
Social
They just
probation.
drove it around.
Just drove it around just because it was
They
hilarious.
knew it was them. They caught them?
No, they didn't get caught.
See, you're giving me stories where you can't confirm
So maybe they're just stories that we just tell, and it doesn't have to be suspended or not.
Yeah, right.
Because Kevin doesn't
That
want
is
to
funny.
suspend people.
Well, people love just these stories in general. Even if we never had the suspended or not idea, I think this shit's hilarious.
It is funny.
Like, just
I think
hearing
it's
about this
a
stuff.
lot of the stuff is funny stuff.
Yeah.
It is.
Don't try this at home. Once again,
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. You don't do that stuff.
Oh yeah, I've yet to add a disclaimer in any of the bios.
we need a disclaimer.
Yeah.
This is all going to
But
happen.
the funny thing is, those last two scenarios, the setting off the firehouse siren and driving heavy machinery around the outside of the firehouse, both scenarios happened multiple times.
Wow.
Yep.
I would call it insubordinate if they say stop doing it and then you kept doing it. Then that's suspendable.
Right. Warnings first.
Yeah.
Progressive discipline.
Fair enough. All right, well, let's get into multi-purpose webbing. Man, these lights are bright. That's how you know these glasses are good.
You want the clip?
Yeah, that clip.
These
too.
dudes were awesome at the show.
Oh yeah, you're gonna
Greg-
ruin my
Greg-
shoes. That
Greg
clip's
and
no
Great guy.
ju-
This thing is friggin'
no joke. Multi-purpose webbing is a firefighter-owned business dedicated to creating products that facilitate fireground efficiency. The MPW personal carry is a webbing system designed for simpler firefighter and civilian removal. The MPW can be separated to allow for search, haul, and utility function. The rated system comes complete with dual-action palm-activated carabiner, mil-spec webbing, and carry case. Our glove clamp is by far the best solution for out-of-pocket glove carry. Never lose a glove again. Use discount code VHP15 for 15% off site-wide. That's multi-purpose webbing. And yeah, those guys were great during the show.
So it's Greg and Scott. Scott actually came to our firehouse and did a training, and I saw him at the Buff Show this week, and I go up to him. I'm like, oh, I knew I recognized you. And he's like, oh yeah, we do all these trainings and
Remember
stuff, and
me?
he's gonna come back and do another one. This thing is awesome. He said a lot of times like there's like different replicas of this, but they TIG weld this spring in here so the spring won't fall out.
Yeah, the spring won't come out. He said.
That's smart, yeah.
And it's freaking strong. This thing's got to be like a freaking 50-pound spring.
Yeah, that's why I said Kevin almost put it on my shoe. Would have taken a chunk out.
Yeah, probably.
But
It was
I
pretty
mean,
cool. You know, he was talking about, you know, using this for rescue, you know, or even just tagging a guy. Like
That-
if you can't get the guy, just tag it. Take this with you because it's 22 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Just put it on your wrist because this way you're still working with your hands.
Mm-hmm.
And you could just attach this to you and take off, and then you can hand it to another guy. And you find the firefighter.
Yeah, so
down,
that scenario
which was pretty
he
cool.
was talking about, if you had, you know, two guys in there, you know, God forbid one guy goes down, you're a little bit lower on air, you got to get out of there, but
Right.
you can clip them and then, like you said,
Tag
tag
on.
the next guy coming in, you know, with it's a RIT team or something coming in. Hey, this guy's hooked up. This is what he's hooked up to. Here's the handoff. I got to get out of here because my bottle's getting low.
And even for searching, you know, using it as like a tag line off a search line or tagging you at the doorway. Now you go into a room, you wrap this
Yeah,
around you,
yeah.
search the room, you can get right back out, you know. So it's
I loved watching him do the demo. I would love to get a video. We can throw the video up. When we first had this, I thought throw it in a bunker pants pocket. He described it as you throw it in a jacket pocket, and
Right.
that it's so much more accessible like this. And the way he did the demo was like clockwork. It was great.
You know, that goes back to what I was saying last episode, like watching somebody who's really good at their craft, like talk about it and teach, and the demo that
Yeah,
he was doing,
watching
like
him do
it was just cool to watch him do it, and like it's so practical, you know, when you actually watch him do it. So yeah, I mean, I would love to.
but there's so many uses, whether you're using it to drag firefighters out or a victim or, you know, lifting tools up, like, and Kyle did some good videos.
Yeah, I was
too,
just
with
gonna
a
say,
bunch
I
of-
think
bunch of
Kyle
people.
did some stuff for them
So,
too.
you know, he went around to a couple different booths, but it's nice listening to people describe their products and how it actually works.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
and
and he's got some great videos on his website, MPW website.
Yeah, and again, for anyone listening, I mean, it's a great product, and you use code VHP15, get 15% off. It's multi-purpose webbing. Job of the week. So
Job of the week.
I figured
We didn't talk about drill either.
that comes after.
No.
The stuff going on in the skies.
I actually did want to talk about that. So, you know, it made me think a little bit, and it's something we don't practice a lot of. And we talk about a lot of these what ifs, and people will say, "Yeah, that'll never happen here, or it never happened before, or whatever." And it just brought me back, mid-air collision, back in, I believe it was 1987. I was in the juniors still, because I joined in 88. So I think it was 86 or 87. Our chief at the time, Richie Rotans, who was an FDNY captain, he ran a mass casualty incident for our fire department. And he got a lot of people involved. Great drill. They actually got real plane parts. And it was considered a mid-air collision over Setauket. And the two planes landed in different parts of the town. So one was at the high school, and the other one was by the old Setauket railroad station. So the train was involved. The planes were involved. So we had all this different agencies. When you think back, Incident Command really wasn't, it was there, but, we didn't follow ICS the way we do nowadays. So he set up this whole command structure, and we had all these people. He brought in these makeup artists that did the movie Poltergeist back in the day. And the people that, they looked real. It looked like real injuries. They had like actual like animal parts or whatever they used. And then, the blood and everything. But it was like legit. Fires burning all over the place. We had the helicopter land, which some people got taken out by helicopter, ambulances everywhere. And, I was thinking about how I've not been to another drill like that in all these years. And you think about how many planes fly overhead, especially on Long Island, going to New York City, JFK, LaGuardia, Islip Town, and then you have the East End smaller airports. There are a lot of planes that fly over our heads, and I'm sure all across the country. Mm-hmm. So
there's two that, I don't remember, like, the most recently, the Avianca.
Avianca was back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Up in Huntington area.
Up
in the hills, which was very, very difficult to get to.
Then you had TWA.
Flight 800 was out over the water.
Yeah.
But yes.
You had some coastal departments respond to that.
And we've had a lot lot of small planes.
And then I was just going to say,
on the highways, landing, crashing.
There was one.
And then, down in Bayport, they have that small airport down there that every once in a while they have a plane go down.
There was one a couple of years, maybe like 10 or 15 years ago, that it was a small Cessna that just fell apart in the sky. And it was, I remember there was a video, I want to say it was Nassau County maybe. There was people on a soccer field, and it was foggy that day, and there was just shit coming out of the sky. They had no idea what it was.
Right.
And it wound up being like a small Cessna that just fell apart.
Which could be a problem. A lot of people look at the small planes and Cessnas, stuff like that, and they go, well, there's only a couple people on it. 2, 3, 4, maybe 6, depending on the plane. So it's not a lot that you have to deal with. It's still a mass casualty incident, right, at over 3. But what if it hits a couple buildings or a very populated area, and now you have multiple victims? So that's always a possibility that you have to think about.
That was what I was curious about with the one that happened in Philly, because you had that plane came down and it hit multiple buildings and set some cars on fire. There was debris all over the road.
Well, it hit the road, but it splattered all into different buildings. Yeah.
So
it was
that's
like a crater in the sidewalk or something.
So from a firefighting standpoint, like obviously, all right, you get a call for a aircraft down. It hit buildings. It hit cars. So now you have multiple car fires.
Yep.
Multiple structures on fire.
And that's what's going to happen.
And so you're going to prioritize the structures for the most part, because that's where people could live. But now, my train of thought is, all right, so those units going in, well, now you got plane parts that are on fire all over the streets. Mm-hmm. So you might not have access to certain, areas where you think your first hydrant is and whatnot. Like, it could be a whole big operation.
It really depends on the size of the plane and, how much fuel it has. If it's just taking off, obviously it has more fuel. If it's landing, it has less fuel. Still could be a considerable amount. But, think about your downtown area, okay? However big it is in your town. It could be a small town, a big town, whatever. Let's just say a large plane, like a 757, 777, comes down and tries to land or goes right down your town, how many buildings would be involved in fire? How many people would be injured? Plus the amount of people that are on that plane.
Well, I'll give you.
If it's not a freight plane.
I'll
let's
give
just
you
say.
a crazy one. This happened here in Hauppauge years ago. I was actually at my cousin's firehouse in Nassau in Seacliff, and it was funny. My phone didn't have service or whatever, and my cousin comes up to me. He's like, "Dude," he's like, "You guys just got an airplane crash in Hauppauge." I'm like, "What?" And he shows me it was here in the industrial park.
Wow.
And there was multiple calls, people saying that there was people jumping out of parachutes in this plane, and it crashed in the industrial park. What wound up happening was the plane failed or whatever, and it was one of those planes that had a parachute built into it, and the
Oh,
parachute
to slow
blew
it
out
down?
the back, and it landed on the front lawn of a building in the industrial park. And
This was
for people,
what, probably like 5-ish years ago.
I was probably like closer to 10 years
Closer
ago.
to 10?
It was
I think it happened on Marcus Boulevard.
Yeah, so
was
for
it?
people
Yeah.
that aren't familiar with the industrial park in Hauppauge, it's the second largest industrial park in the nation. And there are some buildings in here that have chemicals in here that could level an entire block of the industrial park. So you
don't
talk
even
about
know what's here.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing, like you talk
That's a
about
better way to describe it.
Yeah, like if that plane hit into one
Like
of
a
these
big
buildings,
silo. Like even if you look in the parking lots, there's silos in the parking lots just full of stuff.
Some
Yeah.
of them wood shops, dust,
yeah, like I mean,
metals,
that could have been
settling.
and I think it was during it was on
Methyl
a
at the
it was
bad
on a weekend too. So like I mean, there's
Less
still a
people.
ton of people
Yeah.
working on the weekend, but I mean, could have been a complete disaster.
No, that was a weekday. My mom worked across the street from it. It was on Marcus.
No, because I was at my I want to say it was a Sunday because I was at a christening.
Oh, really? Then there's another occurrence that's more recent too.
Oh, maybe yeah.
There's more than you think. I mean, especially with the smaller planes, whether they're having some sort of mechanical issue and just land. I mean, Southern State and Sunrise Highway, how many planes have gone down, just landed, on the road.
Yeah.
It happens.
Did you go to that one in MacArthur?
Yeah.
That was probably like 15-ish years ago.
That was when the plane went off the
Southwest.
taxiway.
Yeah, it was like a Southwest flight.
Yeah,
or
that
something.
one was bullshit.
Yeah, I
though.
was gonna say, was that nonsense?
Yeah, we
Because
got-
the pictures looked like
Slid
bullshit.
off the runway.
They
Is that the
they
one?
called us. Yeah, when the plane
That was with the snow and ice, right? When it slid off the runway. Is that the one?
No, this was a Southwest plane that went off the taxiway, and the front wheel buried itself into the ground.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And they called Hauppauge for the airbags. Mm-hmm. And we get on the trucks. Came through at like 11 o'clock in the morning, and I remember we're heading to the airport on the truck, and somebody is like, "Anybody want to look up the weight of a 737 fully fueled?"
Fully loaded, fuel.
And we look it up, and we're like, "These bags ain't getting
Our
this thing
20-ton
out."
airbags aren't picking
Yeah,
this thing up.
and it wound up being a day of us sitting there with crash fire and figuring out how do we get this thing out of there. And they took, I believe, half of the fuel out of the plane, and then we wound up using wood from the tech rescue trailer, built a ramp underneath it, and then the tow.
Save it to grab it and pull it.
They tried, wouldn't come out, so they had to call a heavy rigging company to come in. The heavy rigging company didn't want the liability of pulling the plane out, so they connected to the tow, which was connected to the plane,
Really?
and pulled it out that way. We got pizza though.
Hell
Oh boy.
Yeah, 11 hours.
Oh my God.
There for 11 hours. We got pizza. It was tight.
Guys, come back to the firehouse,
yeah.
grab some pizza.
And then
we got you guys
the
pizza.
best.
What's some
well, here's the
lobster
thing:
after
we got a unit citation for that, and people were flipping out.
You love medals, huh?
I don't like medals. I never wear them. It was like unit citation.
I've been to so much shit. I have never gotten a unit citation. Some people have like 4 of them. I'm like, what the fuck was that from?
Yeah.
Oh, this was from a car accident.
There's literally there's a funny picture of us holding onto a rope, pulling the plane.
Or making it look
Yeah,
like
make it
you're
look like
pulling
we're pulling the
Nice.
plane out.
I
So
love
like
it.
people were ripping on us. They got a unit citation. Here's a picture of them fucking around. I was like,
So
all
it
right.
ended up just being the heavy wrecker pulling it out. Did the stuff you guys did it do anything?
It created a ramp for that when that
So
the
pull
wheel
the
came
wheel
out.
up.
Yeah, it got the wheel out, but it was
I was gonna say I don't think there's much on fire trucks. Like, how are you gonna move a freaking plane?
yeah, it was it was brutal, man. It was a tough day because it was just not for nothing. The planes, it was foggy that day, and planes were still landing, and we're standing on the freaking taxiway, and you don't hear them. They just come out of the fucking cloud, and you're like, holy shit, you know. But yeah, it was a
Well, getting back to the beginning, I mean, it is something that we should consider. I'm not saying you have to train on stuff like that all the time, but it's good to have some knowledge of the airline industry and what goes on and what planes are like. And like you said, like looking up that information to find out how heavy that plane is before you even try to lift it. That's a smart move. You know, in the rigging world, we ask ourselves 3 questions all the time. You know, it's how much it weighs, how high I want to lift it, or how far I want to pull it. So those are the 3 things in the rigging world you always have to consider. And that was your first step. Your first
so why don't
step
we tie
saying,
that into drill of the week?
Well, we
So
could,
even-
but, you know, getting back to just the planes in general, like, you got to consider that you can have a mid-air collision or a plane go down in your town, anywhere in the United States of America, probably anywhere in the world, pretty much. I mean, there are probably some desolate islands that you
look
don't
at-
have to
look
worry
at,
as much, but
Like helicopter landings, for instance.
helicopters are
Why do
everywhere.
they call the fire department to stand by at a helicopter landing? That's a
Yeah, well-
that's a terrifying concept.
Yeah.
Hey, we don't really trust these things all that much. Let's have a fire truck sit there just in case something happens.
we have the helicopters coming to Stony Brook University all the time. They land
mean,
there constantly. I
but
mean,
the
they
thing
have
is, these guys are like the helicopter pilots. I got one of them in my department. I mean, these guys don't give a shit. They're like
Oh, yeah.
studs. You know,
They know what they're doing.
They whip these things around. It scares the shit out of me
Oh, yeah.
watching them land these things. But they, you know, it's
But
nothing to
it's
them.
good because God forbid something happens, you can protect somebody, which is good. You know, water is good. Like even these car accidents, you know, we go to car accidents. Oh, take the rescue truck, the heavy rescue truck. You need water there. You need to stretch a line if you're using a tool. You don't know what you're gonna cut
that truck
into. You don't. Yeah, well, it's true though because if you cut into the wrong thing, whether it's electrical or fuel line or whatever, or even with these electric battery cars, it goes on fire. You have no protection. 2.5 gallons of water or a dry chem extinguisher is not going to solve your problem. No. If you're trying to protect somebody that's pinned in a car, you need water, and you need a lot of it fast. So you need to stretch a line.
Absolutely.
So getting back to the planes, I know we keep diverting off of this thing. Just start thinking about it. Have some sort of game plan. Who you're going to call, who's going to come. Now, a lot of times when you have an airplane incident or crash, the closest airport is probably going to send out crash fire rescue
Right.
because it's still attached to that airport or a airport. So they'll probably notify them, they'll come out. So at least you'll have something or phone, but how long will it take to get to you or whatever? So, but
Yeah, makes
you
sense.
got to be careful.
All right, let's go into the fire store. In the world of firefighting and public safety, reliability is key. That's why for over 2 decades, first responders nationwide have trusted the Fire Store as their go-to source for top-tier equipment, apparel, and accessories. Featuring industry-leading brands like MSA Cairns for helmets, Streamlight for dependable flashlights, and Seek for cutting-edge thermal imaging cameras, the Fire Store equips you with the best tools to tackle any challenge. But it doesn't stop there. From EMS supplies to flame-resistant apparel and high-visibility gear, the Fire Store has everything you need to stay safe and prepared on the job. Partnered with the most trusted names in the industry, the Fire Store is committed to providing quality and innovation because when lives are on the line, there's no room for compromise. Join the thousands of first responders who rely on the Fire Store. Visit thefirestore.com, your reliable partner for fire and public safety equipment.
Would you like to see the seat camera?
Yeah, look at that.
There you go.
So let's talk about
Let's
the
talk about how
importance
it's
of
not actually
exterior
a
fire
camera.
duties.
It's an imager.
Yeah, an imager. Exterior fire duties.
Exterior firefighters.
The importance of them.
So we got in this kick in the volunteer system and of having, and we saw a big change, I think, when we went to bailout ropes. which I think the bailout rope is essential and important. But some of the older members or members that didn't want to have a bailout rope or have to jump out a window, some of them went to exterior firefighter status because they didn't want to carry it. Okay, which I can get to a certain extent. But we do get members after a period of time, they want to go exterior. And some of them, and I've seen it all over the place, they just think it's like taking a ride on the fire apparatus and standing around. Like they don't worry about taking a position on the rig. And there's a lot of things that could be done as an exterior firefighter at any type of incident. So, it's not just exterior firefighters obviously can operate at brush fires and car accidents and all the other stuff. But when you're going to a structure fire, whether it's an automatic alarm or a real fire, you still have to take tools. You're sitting in a seat. You're taking a position on the rig. You have to do those duties. So obviously you should take an exterior firefighting position, which would be on a truck company, would be like the OV of the roof or the chauffeur, obviously. That's if you allow your exterior firefighters to be chauffeurs.
We let the bees drive, yeah.
On the ladder?
Yeah.
Okay, some don't. Some, if it's a ladder truck, because it's considered the chauffeur's part of the crew in an interior position. But that's entirely up to you or your department. But if you're going to get on the rig and you're going to put gear on, you have to be an asset for that rig and the department. So don't, I see guys not putting their hoods on, they leave their coats open, they don't put an SCBA on the back. You need to wear your gear. You have to be prepared to act if you need to. And you should be trained in SCBA, because standing outside a building, you could still take smoke. Now, I know that we get into limited service people, they have injuries, back problems, or whatever. And we tell them, well, you can be an exterior firefighter, but you don't have to wear an SCBA. Like, there's so many different technicalities, and I don't know how it works in your department. But I've seen it in a lot of different departments where people just stand there with their hands in their pockets.
It's funny you say that, because I see a lot of old timers that are fucking breaking their balls.
And I love it. I love seeing it.
Humping hose into the building. That's an important job, and getting ladders up.
Absolutely.
All the exposure is super important exterior job.
Yep. Ladders, stretching lines, pushing line through the door, going around the rear, doing a size up, or assisting other people on the fireground. You may even have to force doors. You got to be prepared to force doors, especially commercial buildings or around the back. Be able to climb a ladder, take windows, maybe even cut a roof sometimes, depending on the operation.
Secure
Some people say you should not go on the roof if you're an exterior firefighter, but you have guys that, they'll get in the ladder bucket and take it to the roof, stuff like that. So they can still be an asset to the fire service. They can be an asset to the fireground, but they have to do a job. They shouldn't be just standing next to the rig by the chauffeur and just, hey, what's going on? Like, grab your tools, go take a look around, give a report. You could be the eyes and ears. Or, when we get into command, especially like yourself as a captain, let's say you are in charge of an alarm. You might need a hand, like an aide, to assist you. Maybe a senior firefighter that's been around a little while. Maybe the person's an ex-chief now, and they can assist you at the command post. So there's a lot of things that can be done by exterior firefighters, and I think some people just take a back seat and I'm just going to, get my point, and I'll collect my LOSAP, and that's it.
It's like riding without responsibility.
Exactly.
You just become like, oh, I get the ride now, but I only do 20% of what I used to do.
Right.
I mean, we talked about this last episode or a couple episodes ago about putting probeads at the fire hydrant. That's a perfect example right there. If you have a guy that's got the experience, that's a Class B guy, exterior guy, put them on the fire hydrant. Right. And there was plenty of times where, we had people, as fucked up as it sounds, they were not going to go in and fight fires. They were just did not like to be interior.
Listen, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody.
Those types of guys, we would give them exterior jobs. Like, it's very important to get ladders up around the exposures of the house, and obviously the hydrant, getting water is important. So let's get those guys on those types of jobs, and make it a well-rounded operation.
I agree. And getting back to the hydrant, and I don't know when we talked about that, or if somebody didn't hear that in an episode. My thing is, I don't like probies taking the hydrant. We're taking a newer member with the least amount of experience probably, and I understand it's one of the first things we teach them, but our whole operation relies on water. So why are we trusting one of the most important jobs, and most people don't think it's an important job, the hydrant. It's probably one of the most important jobs on the fireground, is to ensure we have a positive supply of water so that we can go in and put the fire out. So take a senior person that understands what to do, have them take care of the hydrant, because this way when they come back to the rig, they'll know where to go and find the rest of the team. A probie, when they come back to the rig, after they're done with the hydrant, either they're going to sit at the hydrant and not move from there,
Just stay there.
or they're going to come back to the rig and they're going to go to the chauffeur, and I've had this happen to me. What do I do now? Well, you should know what your job is. So I'd rather have a probie, if they're SCBA trained in interior, take them in with me on the line, whether they're the nozzle or the backup, so we can watch them, let them learn, get some experience of fire duty, if they're trained, like I said, and then leave the real important job of getting the water and ensuring it's getting to the rig to a senior member that will put a pack on and then follow the lineup and get into position or do another job.
I think that ties into the whole chain of command conversation that we wanted to have as well. You know, and we spoke about delegation as well on the fireground. What is the importance of chain of command? And I'll leave it up to
Let me.
either
I
of
want
you
to. I want
guys.
to hear Kevin's
And
perspective.
well, it goes two ways too, you know, and I want to hear your perspective because I know you had an incident. So, but we have chain of command of the administrative and social functions of the department, and then we have the chain of command on the fireground. And it all evolves around the same types of people, but there is a difference. Now, people have to be informed going up the chain of command, going down the chain of command. So as an officer, as a captain, or even a member, like things going in and out of service, vehicle problems, stuff like that, everybody needs to be aware of. And if you're going to put something out of service, obviously the officers need to be notified before anything else. But the members of the company and department need to know as well. So it's, you know, communication failures are a big problem in the fire service all the way around, whether it's on the fireground, communications with radios, face-to-face, but also on a regular daily basis of issues. And, you know, I'll give you just a quick example. We had a light, you know, a portable light on the rig go out of service. And it's a newer rig, and we had two of them. So we're doing a check. I noticed there's a light missing. I go, anybody know where the light is? I asked the captain and the lieutenant, they're both standing there. Nope, nobody knows anything. It was put out of service by a member, but nobody else knew about it. Because it goes into a work order system, it goes to whoever it goes through in that chain of command, which is a whole nother issue. But people need to know. So we're all thinking somebody left it at a scene, you know, we don't know. Everybody's questioning, and then finally, you know, we put it in like group me, and somebody says, no, I put it out of service. Okay, thank you. Now we know where it is. But we don't want to lose tools, equipment, stuff like that either. But it's nice knowing that if I go to a compartment, that something's going to be there, and it's not out of service or sitting on a bench somewhere.
Yeah, well, with
So-
that, when you put something out of, so say you write something up, we use Red Alert. You guys use Red Alert? So you write it
We have
up.
fire rescue, but
Yeah.
it's similar stuff. But
So-
we don't use that as our write-up system.
Oh, you have a
So-
separate write-up system.
Yeah, so I mean, we're going to change it, but there's a lot of different ways of doing things, and we have to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, once, like for us, and I'm sure you too, once you write something up, it's out of the department's hands because that's then assigned to a district. guy.
District, right,
So
exactly.
if I had like a firefighter just in the company write something up without telling someone, the only way I would know is if I saw it in the
Correct.
queue, if I looked at the work orders, or if the maintenance guy calls me and goes, "What's up with this?"
Right.
And then like that's the only way I would know.
Exactly.
So yeah, that doesn't even go. You know, I feel like guys are usually pretty good with, you know, our flashlights on the ladder truck. They're always dying, and it's like a switch or something inside that when they're just sitting on the battery forever, it burns it out. Whatever happens, the flashlight just stops working. And we write them up all the time. So it just gets thrown like on, you know, by our maintenance guy's office, and that's it. But if he doesn't write in the group chat, hey, I took
Nobody
two
knows.
flashlights off the ladder truck, no one's gonna know.
Right.
You know, so.
And it is a problem, you know, and we have the same kind of thing. It's if you do certain things and write it up, it goes through a chain of people. Like if I want to buy something, it's going to go obviously to the captain, which goes to the station chief, which goes to the chief department, which goes to the district. You know, it's got to get approvals. But sometimes other things like vehicle repairs or, you know, equipment, it goes direct to the district.
Yeah.
So, and then you get the people that just take something out of service and they throw it on the ground in the room where it goes out of service. Nobody tags it, nobody marks it, nobody knows why it's there. So, that's part of our communication problem that we have to keep up on. So that's one part of it. And then when you get back to the chain of command in general, like sometimes because it's a volunteer system, you tell the lieutenant or you tell the captain or whatever the situation is, and it doesn't go anywhere. Which that pisses me off too, because you're trying to do the right thing and then it doesn't get done. So that comes back to accountability with each other. But there are a few times where that's happened. You try to do the right thing and then you get screwed because it doesn't go through the chain of command correctly. You can't just, if you're going to be an officer, you have to be accountable to your people and to the other officers and chiefs above you. So you have to make sure if somebody notifies you, tells you something, that it's done. Don't screw up. And, there were times in the past where that's happened. And then all of a sudden I'm like, what's going on with this? What's going on with this? Oh, we didn't tell anybody. Or it got to the point where I had to go above the chain of command because nobody was doing their job. And then they got pissed off that I went ahead of that. So that's a problem too. So we have to be very cautious in how we react.
I think to that point, because I've dealt with situations where I've had I don't want to call them bad officers, but
They weren't accountable.
they weren't accountable. So, but for the most part, when you have somebody in a position like that, so-called seat filler, something like that, chances are the people above them understand this guy's a seat filler.
Correct.
So you might be able to let a lieutenant or a captain know, hey, this is out of service, and that they're going to forget about it and maybe not tell a chief or whoever the next rank up is. So you could just give that next rank a heads up. Hey, I already told
Correct.
so-and-so that this is out of service. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Chances are that person knows why you're reaching out to them. Okay, no harm, no foul.
And that's sometimes I'll write an email and I put everybody in it.
Oh, you're one of
I
those
send
guys?
it to, well, if I have to, if it's something that's very important,
I know, I'll give you that.
I'll write it to that person, but I'll CC other people on it just so they know that it's there, because
do
that
that
seems to work a little better. Everybody's informed, but it's still going through the process correctly. And sometimes it's not everybody, but it's just a couple people so that all the officers, like captains, lieutenants of the company, know what's going on before it gets to the next stage. But, you don't know, because Phil goes out of town on vacation, let's just say. He might tell the other officers, but he doesn't tell the company. And now I got to get in touch with Phil, or I send him an email or a phone call, and he doesn't get back to me. And now it's like, well, what's going on? So sometimes it's good to notify everybody, especially in the volunteer system, that goes on. Or if you have, instead of personal emails, have a company email that everybody gets. So, in the paid professional world, you have a company email. So everything goes to the company email. So now all the officers can see what's in the company email.
Right.
Rather than
Oh,
personal.
you're saying a shared email address
Yes,
for the company, right?
a shared email address for everybody in the company so that all the officers can see it.
Well,
But there's-
nowadays you get the group me chats, you get the text
But
messages.
still, you can have all the technology in the world and it could still fail.
No, I get it, and that's what my point is. Like, it's that shit's still going to happen, and I think that it's important to try and solidify chain of command from an administrative perspective so that it applies to the fireground as well, so
Absolutely.
that everyone is on the same page. Because I say it all the time, it's very much like a sports team. Being in the volunteer fire service, you get all your buddies, you guys hang out, but the scenarios that we go to can kill you.
Absolutely.
And if you fuck up, and if it's something in the chain of command, somebody's not communicating on the fireground properly, that can result in some really bad circumstances.
And we all do it to a certain extent because, and getting back to, we're going to get to circles at some point. I know you love the circles when I explained it to you, but we have more interactions with higher up ranks than sometimes you normally would in a career department.
Right, yeah.
So, you're going to see your chief of department at an alarm probably because they're out there and active. It's different than a career world. Like, you usually don't see your staff chiefs or chief of department sometimes, where here we do. So you may have that interaction with the chief of department and be like, hey, I got a problem with this. and he'll know about it right away, but it still needs to go through the lower command. Just because that just happens. And getting back to what your situation was, which I had a similar incident, which I talked about a little bit once before, but the guys were doing a duty crew and we get a run in my neighborhood. I went to the scene. I was commissioner at the time, but I was, safety officer as well. And it was like literally on my way there, right around the corner. So I stopped, and one of the guys came over to me. He says, "Commissioner, could we talk to you back at the rig when you're done?" And I said, "Sure." And being the next chief, I'm talking with the other chiefs and everything. So I go back over to the rig. They didn't tell the chiefs. They tell me. And the compartment is open. It's a roll-up compartment, and the tray is ripped off, and it's into the wheel well to the tire. And I go, "What the hell happened?" And they're like, "Well, we got the run. We jumped on a rig, and we pulled out, and we hit the garage door with the tray because the tray was out." And they still responded. They didn't leave the rig, because they thought it was a fire. And I'm like, "Well, you need to tell chief." Like, I get you telling me, and I'm the, apparatus commissioner, but the chief needs to know about this. This is a report. This is a big deal. And it was a lot of money. It was like over $60,000 worth of damage to the rig.
I think a lot of it,
But that's going outside the chain of command, but they were looking at me as a company member.
I was just
and
going to
telling
say
me what's
that.
going on, which is fine. But I said, we got to tell the captain, chief, and let's do it the right way.
Right.
Yeah. So this situation, it's a nothing situation, nonsense, no harm, nothing situation. So what ended up happening was, I think it was an MVA or something. Chauffeur is driving and scrapes a sign on the side of the road. It happens. It's the rescue truck. It's a giant box driving down the street. Any turn you make, you're going to hit a branch, you're going to hit a tree, a sign, whatever it is. Didn't do much damage.
Operator error.
It is operator error, but negligible damage. It's not even damage. It actually just scratched a decal. So like a gold leaf on a letter got scratched up. The
Suspension.
There we go.
Well, no suspension. But listen to this. So, and I told him I was going to use this as an example. I won't use his name, but so
We're all going to find out.
yeah. So, district employee and member of the truck company driving the
Here's
rig.
another problem.
So, whatever, goes on the call. I don't know about it. I'm not there. It was actually right before we recorded last week, and whatever. A couple days go by. I don't know anything because nothing came of it. So then I see 8:30 calling my phone, and I'm like, oh, why is he calling me in the middle of the afternoon? So he's like something 389 got in a collision, and I'm like, got in a collision? I'm like, what the hell? And it ended up, we're talking on the phone, very casual, and then it got scratched, telling me about how it got scratched at this MBA. So then I'm like, all right, I'm like, I didn't hear anything. Like, no one told me, and I didn't hear anything from the lieutenant, so I don't know anything. So it ends up that the way that this was communicated was, it's a weird spot because he's a district guy, but he's also a company guy, a department guy. So he goes and emails the commissioner in charge of apparatus. And I'm like, well, I don't know where that is in the chain of command because it's not in the chain
You're
of
not
command.
working for the district at that time. You're a
Yeah,
volunteer.
right? You walk across the street and drive a fire truck, you're a member of the fire department. So the chief of department hears from the commissioner, who then I hear from the chief of department. And then I'm just like, all right, well, this turned into a whole lot of nothing that is now something because now we have to deal with it. So what ended up happening was our driving policy, and we spoke about driving policy, you collide with something, that's a 30-day driving suspension. And had this been communicated properly, if he would have just came to me or just called me and didn't tell anyone else, hey, Cap, I scratched the sign. I was driving, I made a turn, blind spot, scratched a sign. Not a big deal, no damage, just a decal, whatever. I could have just took it in and been like, all right, let me see, maybe we'll get it fixed. I'll see what I need to do. I'll tell the chiefs, it says, the C in rescue got a little scratch in it. Probably can't even tell that much from the street, but whatever. Had that been the case, I wouldn't be down a chauffeur who's out around all day long, because in our district, the district employees, if they're members, they can ride and drive and do whatever they need to do.
Paid firefighters.
Yeah, paid firefighters. You love paid firefighters, right?
I love people that respond quickly,
Yeah.
volunteer or paid. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just get to the alarm quickly
Yeah.
and efficiently.
So the whole thing with the chain of command here is that had it been communicated properly, nothing would have came of it. it would have just been nothing.
So he got a 30-day suspension for a scratch?
30-day driving suspension, or until the next commissioner's meeting, and it's just time served. But regardless, now my best asset at the firehouse all day long from 8 to 4 to get that rescue truck and the ladder truck out cannot drive anything.
Even while he's working for the district?
Yeah, no, because when you drive the trucks, even if he's on the clock, it doesn't matter. He's still a member of the department. So
Wait until they have a plane crash in district. They need that thing out.
But yeah, follow the chain
I
of
remember
command.
way back, a long time ago, we had a chauffeur suspended, and it was something serious, and they needed the ladder truck. And the guy gets on the radio and he goes, if the chief authorizes it, because I'm on my 15-day suspension, I can bring the rig there for you. And the chief let him do it, But that's why I don't like the whole chauffeur suspension thing.
And after this situation, I'm kind of
The
like...
chief should be able to make a quick evaluation, talk to the commissioners, and, obviously if it's something reckless, if somebody, God forbid, was driving while intoxicated, stuff like that.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
serious.
you deserve, some serious discipline. But, for minor stuff, like I told you, like ripping the tires. I ripped 2 tires. I was suspended 15 days. For what? I didn't do anything wrong.
That's the exact same thing.
Exactly.
That's a
So,
little
well,
bit damage.
that's an accident. You're hitting a fixed object. Anytime you strike a fixed object, it's really a preventable accident. It shouldn't happen. So, you need to learn from that. But does a person really need a 30-day suspension for it?
Why do you think, from a chief and commissioner's perspective, why have that policy? I don't get it.
I don't know, and I heard the same thing like you did years ago, that it's an insurance thing, and it's not. And some people
That's
believe...
what I thought too, yeah.
Some people believe it's like almost admitting guilt. If you automatically suspend somebody, it's like automatically guilt, which it could be or could not be, but it really depends on the situation. But is it really necessary to give somebody an immediate suspension without even doing any type of investigation? I mean, listen, somebody gets killed, things happen, bad things happen, police investigations, stuff like that, I can understand it. But for minor fender benders, you get in an accident with your car, you're going to stop driving it tomorrow?
No.
Are you that bad of a driver because you got in a little accident? Accidents do happen. Sometimes they are not avoidable. It's just the way it is. Like firefighting, you can get hurt or killed doing everything right here. You never know when something's going to happen. But we should be able to do a quick evaluation and make a determination.
Yeah, I don't like knowing that this guy in particular he just can't drive.
Right.
I don't like that because he's there all day.
And you might need them.
And we cover the Northern State and Motor Parkway and the Expressway, so it's like shit goes down often. It's not like it's not like we don't do anything around here.
And
So,
sometimes they need retraining. Sometimes they need some sort of overview or a sit down with an officer just to go over things and make sure that they're not reckless. And if a person has multiple accidents in a certain amount of time, obviously should definitely go back to retraining.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
doubt about it.
yeah, but this, like I said, nonsense accident, but the chain of command could
That's
have
more of an
solved it.
incident than...
Yeah, an incident than an accident. Yeah. But yeah, I was writing in the group chat because I notified my company. I'm like, look, our daytime guy, our primary daytime chauffeur, can't drive for a month.
Needs
Or-
somebody
or-
to step up.
So I was like, if anyone's around during the day, that truck needs a driver.
I think that's proactive
Yeah.
of you as an officer.
Yeah, right away. That was the first thing I did, and I'm like, and then all the freaking nosebleed section guys are like, really, you got suspended for that? And I'm just like,
Nosebleed section, guys. That's classic.
Tyler just gave you a compliment.
Yeah, no, I think it's good.
No, it is
That's
a heads-up move.
proactive thing to do.
Listen,
Yeah.
communicating with your people is so important.
it is, yeah.
With anything that goes on in the firehouse, it's very important to communicate with everybody.
Moral of the story is don't crash into shit
Yeah.
when you're driving.
Don't strike fixed objects.
Yep.
Yeah.
Please.
But I reiterated to the guys in the group chat who were like, oh, this is bullshit. Why can't he drive all this stuff? I'm like, look, regardless of all that, it happened. It's a mistake. But I'm like, I reiterated so many times, just follow the chain of command. I'm like, I'm your best friend. If you do anything wrong,
Oh, right there. You're not.
I said, well, I'm like, I'm going to advocate for you. I'm like, the chief came to me with this and now you're suspended. Maybe
That's-
I could have mitigated that.
That's your job as
Yeah.
the officer is
Yeah.
to take care of your people.
Yeah.
Yeah, make
I'm
sure
like,
it doesn't get to the chief's
And
office.
justify things as best you can.
Yeah.
You have to be
you
an
know what I would have
advocate.
done? I would have left the scratch there. At the next time I saw the chief, or maybe I'd write in the group chat, I would blame a tree. I'd be like, oh, we must have hit a tree. Who knew? It might have happened 3 weeks ago. You know?
Just be careful with that.
Yeah. But
I wouldn't-
what
You
I'm
lie and then you get caught.
I wouldn't
Now
say
you're in big
shit.
trouble.
Just, leave
Just
it
say,
there.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
No.
Must have been one of the
It's
district
better to
guys.
own up to it. And if you own up
Yeah,
to
of
it right
course.
from the beginning, it's usually going to be better.
Yeah. But as an example, it could have been anything. You know, the thing's got scratches on it. It's not a
Fire truck, right?
It's a fire truck.
Not a parade piece.
Yeah.
It's a fire truck.
Right.
Can't scratch the parade piece.
And the thing's massive too. You can't not hit stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't not hit stuff.
You can.
Well, I think that wraps it up
Already?
for this episode.
Yeah, right.
Already, we've been talking for like fucking 3 hours here.
You sure about that?
No,
I didn't
But
start.
we-
I didn't start Kevin's stopwatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, where's the stopwatch?
I
No
forgot
stopwatch
to turn, I
tonight?
forgot to turn it on for
Darn
Kevin.
it.
All right. Well, cool. We'll see you guys next episode.
What was this? 6? Episode 6? Wrapping it up.
That
Episode
is episode
6.
6.
We're moving.
We're moving along.
Good
So
stuff.
thank you, everybody. And
Shout out Kyle Cook. Thanks for the
yeah,
help.
thank
Yeah,
you,
nice
Kyle,
job,
for
Kyle.
the help.
Well, we'll let you know how it is.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
All right, cool.
All right.
Great. See you next week.